Islam Makhachev versus Thiago Moises. Now, what really happened in this fight? A clear domination from the biggest prospect of the lightweight division. Did himself very well here in the striking and also in the grappling. This was his first 5-rounder, and to gain as much experience as possible from this fight, it looked like number one, he took a more patient approach, not rushing anything for a finish. And number two, he was interested to strike with Thiago Moises, test his striking out more in this fight. He showed his improved distance management to slide away from punches and even countering with his own left hand. He was feinting a lot to get the left hand opening on Moises. He had good close range combinations off of his feints as well, and an amazing cutting ability, trapping Moises in a confined space against the cage, which also left for more openings for his left hand to connect. And with this striking approach of Islam, Moises was actually the one who initiated the first grappling exchanges. He started to respect Islam's striking so much that he was the one that first clinched up, and it all went downhill from there. Whenever they got in any grappling scenario, again, Islam was taking over the fight. I mean, Islam is so technical on the ground, man. At the end of the second round where he was able to transition into the mount, he was merely throwing elbows, but not with all of his power, just to get Thiago Moises to tighten up his guard. But that guard gives up both of the arms for a potential armbar, and that's what Islam Makhachev goes for. He knew that Thiago Moises guards up in this way where both hands are in front of him, not on the ground but on the feet. Thiago Moises has the same guard in his striking as he has on the ground. When Makhachev was feinting at him and throwing the right hook and throwing the left straight, Moises had the same exact guard. So Makhachev knew that, applied his tactics around it for the grappling as well. Through the elbows, Moises guarded up and Islam went in for the armbar. If that second round did not end there and there was like maybe 5 to 10 seconds more, Makhachev would have submitted him in the second round. He was simply just multiple levels ahead of Thiago Moises. On the feet, he's looking slick, and on the ground, he's looking like the most dominant force in this division right now. But I was very impressed with Islam Makhachev's ability to cut off the cage from Thiago Moises. Whenever Moises wanted to move out to his own left, Islam definitely did not want him to do that, so he would suddenly cut off that direction to line up Moises a lot better for his left hand. He did not want Moises to move out to his left angle at all. And soon enough in the fight, you start to see Thiago Moises react heavily to Islam's feints, picking up a very tight guard. He was definitely respecting the left hand of Makhachev, and it was mainly because of the precision. Makhachev was finding his left hand in very tight spaces. This will be him backstepping away from Moises' attack to then landing his left hand as a counter shot. This shows Islam to be a more focused counter striker than Khabib Nurmagomedov. This goes into his right check hooks as well. Just seems a little bit more natural for him, and he's definitely going to develop that as he moves forward. But that left hand precision, look at here at 2 minutes and 17 seconds. This is a clear indication of how sharp Makhachev's hands are. First he feinted low and he drew out Moises' knee. Moises thought that Makhachev was going to come in for a takedown, so he wanted to intercept that with a devastating knee to get a quick knockout. But just clean distance management, Islam backsteps away from it, and that knee that Moises throws out there gets him to plant out of his stance. So Islam knew here that it's time to attack. He makes it look like he's going to throw a right hook, but he's merely only giving that look and measuring for his left hand. Now, usually when fighters do this, they throw this right looping hook before throwing their cross. It usually is meant to get the opponent to widen up their guard and open up the space on the center, but Thiago Moises did not do this. He actually tightened up the center of his guard, making it a very narrow space in between his arms. Look how tight that space is. Islam did not get the opening that he necessarily was looking for, but he still gets his hand right in there and connects on Thiago Moises. This is not the only time. Islam Makhachev landed nearly every single left hand he threw in this fight. Just purely clean striking from Islam Makhachev, man. Definitely impressed with his striking. But let's be honest here. Makhachev is not known for his striking. His wrestling and grappling in this fight were again astounding. I mean, it's an absolute treat to watch Makhachev work. He had clean takedowns on Thiago Moises, and not only is he technical with his takedowns, the inside trips, the belly to bellies, the explosive double leg takedown from the open space, but Islam Makhachev is extremely strong, man. He's super physical as well as being technical. I mean, look at some of the takedowns he was able to get. I mean, what he did with that belly to belly in the first round, he just steps in the center with his left foot and just lifts Thiago Moises over. Another one where he has the back of Moises, just simply picks him up and slams him. That deep double leg in the fourth round just simply picks him up and slams him yet again. But in this takedown, he was very aware of what angle he wanted to slam Moises. He wasn't being reckless of just slamming the guy and that's it. He wanted him in a certain position. What do you know about Khabib and Islam Makhachev is they do their best work on the ground when the opponent is closer to the cage. So he goes and nearly power bombs Moises to the left, getting Moises' head closer to the cage so he can work with tremendous pressure. You'll see a stacking come into play and all of that stuff. And just like you saw with him turning the angle for his takedown, he was always multitasking when he went in for these takedowns. For an example, he'll have that instant back take in the third round. He slams him, and at the moment Thiago Moises hits the ground, Islam is already moving. he's already going for the back, and Moises could not keep up. Or when he got the trip on Moises earlier, Moises was able to break his fall, keep that right underhook so he can rise and drive Islam to the cage yet again. But Islam was not merely only looking for this takedown. As Moises was rising, Islam found an opportunity to land a hard knee to the body. Islam Makhachev, Khabib, and all of these guys, when they're wrestling or grappling with you, they're always moving on to the next thing, whereas the opponent is usually only able to focus on one task at hand. When you generally look at it that way, that is what tells you that guys like Islam and guys like Khabib are just far superior in the grappling to most of these other guys. But I will give Thiago Moises some credit for his ability to turn Islam Makhachev into the cage when they were in the clinch. As strong as Makhachev is, Moises had a very strong right underhook, able to consistently turn Islam into the cage. And he was able to get a takedown on Makhachev in that second round. Every time his back was to the cage, Islam kept going for knees, and he got one of them caught. Moises was able to lift him up, turn and slam Islam. But again, like I just said, Makhachev multitasks, man. As he's focusing on his landing, he snatches on that guillotine choke with a quickness, man, and right away put Moises in a very dire situation where he had to escape even though he was on top and he got the takedown. He needed to get out of there. Moises was very aware for Islam's guard, so he extends his right leg and plants his foot on the cage, just so Islam cannot get the guard around that side. But even though Islam cannot secure the position, his choke had to have been extremely tight because Thiago Moises attempted to flip over and roll to get out of the choke, even though he took away the position for Makhachev. The choke alone needed for Moises to get out of there. That told you how deep that choke was. And there were those few moments in the third round where Moises yet again has Islam to the cage and he goes under to attempt a double leg takedown. Now, because Moises was getting pretty much dealt with in the clinch, he got tripped out momentarily, he was eating knees and stuff like that. He tried his hand at something a little bit different, going low on Islam, but even there, it didn't even matter. Islam Makhachev pushes down on the head, and he actually puts so much pressure. He pushes his head so hard that Moises literally loses focus of his takedown and instead focuses on getting Islam's hand off of his head. The pressure was so much that Moises abandoned the takedown completely, and this allowed Islam Makhachev to simply reverse the position. Islam cradles him, has that butt drag, and instead of rotating around to get Moises' back, he throws Moises into the corner instead. And this ultimately led to him picking up and slamming Thiago Moises. As Islam eventually got his back and wanted to rotate for the mount transition, look how strong Islam Makhachev is right here. He almost loses the transition when Moises pushes his head away, right? Islam loses his left grip. It looks pretty bad for Islam Makhachev, but he simply just muscles through it, gets the grip around Moises' head, and he just pulls himself on top like it's nothing. All of that right there just shows how physically strong Islam Makhachev is. And when we look at the fourth round toward the finish, when Islam slams Moises close to the cage, Moises was dealing with an uncomfortable amount of pressure, so he needed a way to get out of this. He wraps his left arm around and snatches Islam's right arm. This is a potential armbar opportunity for him. He needed to do something, so he creates that angle, gets in that right hook under Islam's left leg, but he made a drastic error as Islam just merely pulls his arm out, and now Moises gets stuck in this angle. Why is he stuck? That right hook under Makhachev's left leg gets trapped. Islam clamps down with his weight on top of that arm, and now Moises has nowhere to go. He has to force his arm out of there, but that's going to scramble up the position a little bit and get Islam into a more dangerous position on top. And that is actually what happens here. When he pulls his arm out, he creates separation, more space for Islam to occupy. Islam uses that to stack on top so he can land heavy ground and pound shots. This heavy pressure causes Moises to yet again find a drastic exit plan, so he pushes away and he looks to roll. This is the exit plan a lot of fighters go to when they are panicking on the ground. It's so dangerous because you're giving up your back, and Islam quickly snatches onto him. The cage is kind of blocking off Islam's ability to get the back, so he simply just hooks under Moises' right leg. And Moises wanted to get away out of this as well, so he stretches out to relieve himself of that hook, but when he does this, he exposes his neck. A lot of people seem to have missed this. Moises exposed his neck for exactly 1 second, and Makhachev snatches his neck, and that was the end of it. He didn't even need the hooks in. Great performance by Islam Makhachev. Good experience for a 5-round fight, and he just showed again, man, not many guys are going to be able to grapple with him. His boxing's looking a lot better. His footwork is looking amazing. By the time he fights the champion, he's going to be probably on an entirely different level from all of these guys. But the next guy, he said he want RDA. I like that fight as well. Top 7 opponent is perfect for Islam Makhachev. If he goes and beats RDA, he needs one more big fight, one of those top 5 fighters, and if he wins that as well, title shot for Islam Makhachev. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. If you did, make sure to thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.